What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Welcome to your latest Man United updates. Me and Owen here with you guys at this mid-afternoon. Happy Monday, everyone. Because actually, when everything is when everything is going badly, you get a shit result. You wake up Monday morning and you kind of know what's on its way. You know what's on its way. And that is what's happened this morning. All the storm has come. All the media are speaking. And the biggest one is from Fabrizio Romano. We'll talk about what Samuel Luckhurst has had to say and some other journalists and some other people in the press. But the biggest one is the Marcus Rashford situation. And it's from Fabrizio Romano. And he's basically saying that Marcus Rashford is, considering his future here. He says, quote, actually, that's the second part of it. Let me get the first part of what Fabrizio Romano was saying. He's saying that basically Marcus Rashford is considering his future at Manchester United. He's not playing football. Sources close to the player say he's remaining professional. He's remaining calm about the situation, but he wants to assess his situation with the World Cup round the corner. And it's like the day after a horrific result with a horrific performance, you get this, don't you? And then he then goes on to say, where's that bit? He then goes on to say more on Rashford. His contract expires in 2023, but Man United have an option to extend for a further season. I am told no decision made yet. Sources tell me that he's concerned and bemused. He's bemused with his role within the team due to a lack of playing time. So how are you seeing this, Owen? As usual, we got to get into it. We're not going to run away with anything. Let's keep calm and let's really break this down. What are you saying? What's your first initial thoughts on this?
Well, as soon as the result happened yesterday, I think everyone just sort of went, "What's tomorrow going to look like?" Because Monday mornings, media stories, journalists have to write something, and it's a feeding frenzy. Everyone, after arguably one of the worst results of the year, we've had some bad ones this season. Yeah. Everyone knew that something was going to come, and I'm quite taken aback by just the sheer volume, to be honest with you, because it's not just the Rashford story. It's like Dallo. It's Henderson. It's people don't like Ranić. It's everything. It's everything thrown at the wall. It's the greatest hits. So I was like, wow. I was taken a bit back by that one. The Rashford thing, to be honest with you, whilst I'm sure he probably is very disappointed he didn't start yesterday. Right? You got both your strikers out injured. Cavani's out. Ronaldo's out. You even had Ranić in the press conference say, I believe Marcus Rashford can be an elite level striker. I'm going to work with him. I believe he can do it. He's got the physical tools and capabilities. For him then not to start is odd. And everyone was like, that's very odd. But on the flip side of things, realistically, if you think that Marcus Rashford's future at a club is going to be dictated by an interim manager who every time he's been asked about transfers or contracts, he goes, I have nothing to do with that. It's laughable. And Marcus Rashford's not leaving. That might get clipped, and I might look like the biggest fool, and maybe I will. But that was my initial reaction when I saw that. Of like, I don't think he's leaving. Marcus Rashford is too important to Manchester United in general. His contract's going to 2023. He's got an option for an extra year. Another coach is going to come in the summer, and then what if he goes? I tell you what, I really like Marcus Rashford. Gone. Story's over. Exactly. It's vanished. That feels like a story as to pour gasoline on a fire or an inferno that's already burning at the moment. So I saw that and I went, of course he's unhappy, but if you think he's leaving, I don't think that's happening. And also, if there's an element of truth in that he is concerned that he wasn't playing, I don't think anyone can look at Marcus Rashford's form this season and go, it's not justified that he didn't start yesterday.
Exactly.
If anything, it's an indictment of how bad his form has been this season. That Ralf Rangnick didn't have any strikers, and he went, no, because you haven't been playing well. Just because you are a name doesn't mean you deserve to. Nobody deserves to start. Your form dictates everything, and Marcus Rashford hasn't been playing well. So I look at that and I just sort of go, like I said, in the summer, new manager comes in, different story. And maybe if his form picks up, different story. But at the moment, we've had a terrible result, media frenzy, boom, gone.
That's how I see it in terms of the media frenzy. When you lose and you lose bad at Man United, and then it's the derby, it's Man City. So if it happens against Liverpool, the same will happen. And these things did happen. When you get bad losses at Man United, you're going to get stuff the next day. 100%. You know, it's a media frenzy. It's like those kind of results for Man United, if you're a journalist, are gold. It's like, okay, let me stretch.
Yeah.
Let
Tomorrow
me
writes itself.
let 100%. Do you know what I mean? Because
Bruce
you got
Almighty
a lot,
GIF when he's doing that.
100% easy, because you got a lot to go on. Now, in terms of what's been said in these reports, that Rashford is concerned at not playing and stuff like that. Well, one, you should be concerned that, like you said, because I said it during the stream yesterday, that actually Rashford not starting. I was even under the impression, I was like, we're going to need to counter against City. Rashford hasn't been playing well. I'm hearing this stuff about Ronaldo not playing. We know Cavani's not going to play, but we're going to need Rashi tomorrow just to run around, just do something. You got to try. Got to try him.
Yeah.
And the fact that 2 central midfielders played ahead of him in a foot, and we even made an extra striker space. We played with 2 up
There was
top.
2 strikers. Played 2 false nines.
And that's where I agree with everything you've said. But if we look at it from the other, play devil's advocate, and look at it from a footballing point of view, it does speak wonders. It does speak wonders, because actually we've created an extra attacking space in a 2-man attack, and you can't get in over 2 guys who don't even play. You know, we put our best 2 players on the ball, our 2 most creative players, with their back to goal as strikers. Like, rather than you running the channels, we'd rather have them than you. And then we've got the young kid Anthony Elanga, who's done really well recently, starting on the right instead of you. Like, do you know what I mean? And by his form, I don't think a lot of people, we're all kind of in agreement that shows how bad Rashi's been. But if you think about that in the context of his whole career, or where it's going to go, that's very telling. If you can't get in up front over 2 central midfielders, and you can't get in over a young kid who's in a breakthrough season on the right wing, that's telling. However, the important thing to remember with that is the curious case of Man United. Because like what you said there, Owen, I don't think that means he has to leave, because if you think about it, a new manager's going to come in. If Pochettino walks in that door at the end of the season and says, I really want Marcus Rashford, and gets a tune out of him, that could be the best thing for Marcus Rashford, to have someone like Pochettino. It could be the best thing for Rashford to have someone like Eric Ten Hag. Now, some people have made up their mind on Rashi and said, seen enough, mate. You know what I mean? Like, sell him in the summer. Even before this was going, some people were saying it already. Sell him in the summer. And that's, everyone's right. Cool. But my thing is that if it's been decided from a manager like what you said, Owen, who's only here for a short time and is about to be a new manager that's going to go in a completely different direction, how do we not know that manager could be a breath of fresh air for someone like Rashford, when Ronaldo might be out the door, Cavani's definitely out the door, Martial, let's face it, looks like it's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying Rashford's going to get back to his best or whatever, because I've always said, sometimes I've been criticized for saying, like, I just don't get the Rashford hype of how highly some people did rate him, like Mbappe talks, and like really saying how good he is. I'm not saying he's should never play for us again, me personally, but I've never bought into the hype. But I still wouldn't say off the back of what's been going on, that means he's going to leave. And also, you got to think about the new contract situation. It goes to 2023. There's an option to buy. You know, is there something in there? You know, there's little drops of information. Get it talking. Because to tell you one thing about Man United, the way that we operate. If I said this to you, Owen, would you be surprised if, you know, Rashford got a new deal?
Yeah, but and also as well, like we're talking about 2 years. His contract expires in 2 years. Yes, it's 2023, but the option of an extra year. So 2 years.
Yeah.
The amount that can happen between now and June 2024. Look at what's happened in the last 2 years. Like it's insanity. We could go for another 2 managers during that period of time. And we know how Man United are when it comes to contracts. They'll wait till the end. They'll wait right to the end of that contract, whether they're going to decide to sell or let them go on a free or anything like that. So much can change between now and June 2024. And also as well, you have to think a bit of the perspective of if this story is accurate, which again, we don't necessarily know it is, but like, what is the logic behind I'm not playing very well this season, so I should leave? Shouldn't the logic be, I'm not playing very well, I probably need to up my levels, or I need to try and find that extra, performance level, not the, I haven't playing very well, I was dropped for the derby, which is a big indictment on how I'm playing. Yeah, I should leave. Like, that doesn't, that's not like the mindset that I think he would have. And like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if in 6 months' time, Marcus Rashford signs a new contract.
Yeah.
It's just, like I said, when I saw the story, my initial reaction was, Marcus Rashford, is he leaving? Also, as well, you have to remember homegrown rules. Marcus Rashford's a Manchester United guy, and I know people can say, well, it doesn't count for much nowadays, but it does still. And I just, like I said, I
They won't
struggled
want him to leave. Man United Football Club will not want Marcus Rashford to leave. And actually, some may argue that actually that can be a problem, because then we're going to be stepping into what the recurring theme, which is rewarding players with big lucrative contracts for not really having achieved a lot. Do you know what I mean? That is an issue. If Rashford does sign a new deal in a couple of years or a year, or whenever it is, if he does, it's going to be bumper. It's going to be a mega deal. Mega deal. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't even need to speculate over what the money would be, but it's going to be
in the business of pay cuts, are we? You know what I mean?
Exactly. You don't sign a new deal and get less. Do you know what I mean? And he's on quite a bit. So we're then going into that remit of, again, the bigger issue here. Forget the noise about Rashford and the media thing coming out and saying that, because that's one thing. Okay, we can discuss that. But actually, it feeds in, and it always does. It feeds into the bigger problem at the football club, which is the institution and how it's run. Because we're sitting here saying, I could see that. I could see him getting a new 4-year, 5-year deal, bumper money. And you look at the trajectory of his career over the last 2 to 3 years, and you look at the trajectory of some other young players, and there's no parallels. They're completely opposite. I look at Bukayo Saka. Yeah. Look at his upwards trajectory of steady improvement. And I look at how he plays the game and how young he is, how good he is on the ball and stuff like that. But his best attribute to me is his decision making. Like,
and
his maturity.
He's on considerably less as well.
Considerably less. And the trajectory of the player looks considerably better. Do you know what I mean? Whereas Rashi's just done this, and that can fall back into maybe Rashi's always been a little bit raw and never quite, that really super intelligent footballer who understands the game. It was more raw attributes where he's quick, he's direct, he can get at you, has got a decent touch on him, got good control. Do you know what I mean? He can unleash a shot. But Arto says there, look at Foden, Saka, etc. Now, look, some people can say, obviously, the environment you're in, how many managers has Rashford had? He's been pulled from left wing to up front to right wing. I get it.
Well, that's what it says. Mark Critchley from The Independents just said that Marcus Rashford believes he needs time to nail down a position at Manchester United in order to regain his form. So, again, if that report is to be believed, it's of the perspective of, well, my form's bad because I've been put around all over the pitch and I'm in and out of the side. But on the flip side,
that's not game. That's not one game. One game. It's not.
And you could also argue they go hand in hand. Like, the reason you've been shunted around and put in all different positions and they're in and out the side. Again, what does it go back to? Form.
Yeah.
Form has been so inconsistent and so indifferent that the manager, whoever it may be, whether it was Ollie, whether it's Ralph, whether it's whoever, is always trying something different of be like, how do I get the best out of him? How do I get the best out of him? Because we haven't found it yet. Like, that obvious answer isn't necessarily there.
Exactly. Which means you hold the bench until I can find otherwise. I'll just use other things. Doesn't always mean you have to leave, but it just shows how poor his potential is looking at being reached. Like, it just looks so far off. I just look at other young players who are playing in the league, and I just think, wow, Rashford, what's happened? And Rashford's not even that young.
Do you think he says anything? Because Rashford historically as well, every time there's a story out about him that he perceives not to be true in the media, he has no qualms about coming out and going, no, that's not true.
Interesting to see what he does today.
Exactly. That's my theory, because before, whenever he's done that, 9 times out of 10, it's from sources that when you saw it initially, go, I don't know about that one. But these are some big hitters coming out and say it, right? It's Romano, it's Samuel Luckhurst, it's people that would, inevitably know, or certainly have a stronger track record. So it's going to be interesting to see if Rashford does come out and say no, or he doesn't say anything. And some people will say, and frankly, he can't win, because if he does come out and say that's not true, he'll be like, oh, There you go, coming out defending things. And if he
Yeah,
doesn't say
he's
anything, they'll
better
say
off just saying
spoke about
nothing. He should
fire.
just say nothing. He should say nothing.
Mm.
I
And
think.
he should have his performances speak volumes. But the problem is, at the moment, they're not, and that's the
Not
problem.
exactly. So he's got nothing to fall back on at the moment. He's in a really difficult situation, Rashi. Big up Joel Grant, bro. Nice. Thanks for coming through. Says, how do you feel about CR7's sister saying he was fit? I mean, yeah, she liked an Instagram post that was claiming there's nothing wrong with him. I mean, I don't know, man. Confirmation of things like that through Instagram likes is a bit crazy. But if that, I didn't actually see, like, I didn't go to the post and then click on the profile to check it actually was his sister and all that. I really didn't. But it does sound, I said it today on Sky, it does sound fishy. I have to say that. It does, that this hip flexor just appear in the odd time, it does sound a little bit off. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but I just feel like there's something a little bit off. I want to choose not to believe it. Like, you know, Ralph was saying, you know, I have to believe my medical team. They came in and said Cavani wasn't right, or, you know, Ronaldo has hip flexors gone, and you know, he is older. You know, he could get little niggles here. That is kind of to be expected, but I don't know. The sister doing that, and I don't know. Something feels off, but I don't feel strongly enough about it to come on here and be outraged and say Ronaldo don't want to play, and see the club's a mess because Ranić don't want to drop him because he's too scared. And I don't know enough about that subject, truthfully, if I'm being honest, to come on here and say that. But it does feel off. I will say that.
The one that I think frustrated me the most with the Ronaldo situation was those reports last night that said basically he was injured and he flew back to Portugal, and some of the players were sort of a bit like, would you not stick around? We need you here. That's the one where I would be a bit like, where's Ronaldo? Oh, he's injured. Oh, okay. So is he back home, or is he in the stands to go, no, he flew back to Portugal? You would have a little bit of a look around going, it's Manchester derby. Like, we do kind of, you know, and if you are going to do interviews like he did before Christmas, go, you know, we need to be, oh no, but after the New Year, wasn't it? New Year, new us, we need to be unified. Some of these players need to step up, blah, blah, blah. Biggest game of the season, left the country. I mean, if I was a young player, I would be kind of, you're talking about setting an example. I'd be like, you know, and that itself is so indicative of United this season because it's just constant chaos.
Yeah.
Constant chaos. Is he injured? Is he not injured? Cavani, what's going on with him? Ronaldo, he's injured. He left the country. Rashford's on the bench. He wants to leave. Some of, like, Henderson thinks he should be starting. Dallow's confused because he was playing games. Now he's not playing games. And I know, obviously, we see it more because it's our club. We're focused on it. But you just don't hear this noise anywhere else. And it is because we're the biggest club in the world. And it is because if you say Manchester United, you get clicks or you get reads or you get whatever. I understand that. But my God, it's just overbearing at times, isn't it? Like I said, and to the point of when the game happened yesterday and it was full time, you went, tomorrow. You were worried about having to talk to your friends and that tomorrow because of Manchester derby and how embarrassing United are at the moment. But also you're like, I tell you what, I'm going to go on Twitter tomorrow. And the timeline is just going to be filled with all of these stories that, again, you have to get into Cluedo mode, Sherlock Holmes mode, going, do I believe this? Don't I believe this? Which you should, but it's constant. It's constant and it's draining.
It is. The Campbell Life says, to be honest, without the pace, Rashford wouldn't be at United. His overall game is poor and decision-making haven't improved since his breakthrough season. And CJK Digital says, could you see Rashford going to a next Prem team?
Because I don't think he's going to leave.
It's a massive hypothetical. One, I think me and Owen are. Let us know in the comments, actually. This ain't about just what me and Owen think. What do you guys think? Do you guys think Rashford's got a genuine chance of leaving this season? And if you do, why? And if you don't think he does, let us know why. Let us know why. I want to see you guys' thoughts on that as well. But yeah, I don't think he's going to leave, CJ. If he was gonna, could he go to another Premier League team? Maybe. I could see something crazy like Arsenal or something come in.
I don't know. I think if he was to leave, I think he would have at least some respect for the. Like, he would get offers from all around the world, frankly, wouldn't he? He'd get offers from abroad.
But I think you know, I could see someone like Arsenal saying, you know what, you play up front for us every game under Arteta. Just run around. You ain't got to be great on the ball. We'll create chances for you. We believe in you. Here's a number 9 shirt. I could weirdly see that. I don't know why. I could weirdly see that, but
I mean, that reality flex is a dark reality.
Do you know what? And the reason why I said that is because a friend. I was in the gym today, and my friend, he's an Arsenal fan, and he was just talking about it as a hypothetical. That's why it was the first one that came to me, and I was like, don't even put that into the atmosphere. Like, do not. Like, that would be horrendous for us. Imagine he went there and just started like bagging. But
I think he's, like I said, I think he'd go abroad. I think he would have at least somewhat of a connection to United, and he knows again that he would get offers from all over the place, right? And I think he would probably go abroad if that was to happen. But as I mentioned, I really struggle to see that. And obviously, look, last couple of years has proved that anything's possible in the world of football, just life itself. So anything's possible.
Yeah,
but
look at Tammy Abraham, went to Roma, and he's got 19 goals this
20,
year.
Yeah, like, 20 goals this season. Yeah, unbelievable stuff. And again, I think he would get offers from abroad, and I think he would probably go that. And
that's one thing. As much as some Man United fans, we can say we see his flaws, isn't it? It's almost like you're trying to tell someone before they buy something, mate, I've used this product. It's not very good. But someone else sees it and says, no, I think I can, I could be all right. He'd get offers 100%.
Yeah, and we do that, as well, isn't it? It's like everything with any player. When we're interested in a player from another side, and they go, "No, look, I've watched him every week.
Yeah,
these are kind of the deficiencies, or whatever." And we'd be saying that to people, going, "Yeah, Rashford." You go, "Well, actually, we've seen him every week. Decision making, mate. That's how it works." Yeah,
you're gonna get a lot of blind alleys and running into people and not releasing the ball at the right time. And I don't know if he's right for you. No, I'll be fine. So listen, I don't really know. Really, that was just on my mind because an Arsenal fan put that to me earlier today, but I would never want to see that. I think it's very unlikely they go somewhere else in the Premier League. Angie says, I want to see these players under a proper manager. I want to see Rashford, Martial coached, more players too. Have any of these players been coached? And that actually, is a fair point in terms of looking at the instability in around the place, and actually away from just Marcus, nobody's been thriving. But actually that comes down to, one, the coaching and everything changing, but actually how many, I said it at the back end of last season, KG was like, right, you know what? You're right. Like, how many of these players are just good enough to play for Man United? How many of them are good enough to close a gap to Chelsea, to Liverpool, to City? How many?
And that was like watching it yesterday. Second half, 100%. They absolutely gave up, and it was quite interesting on the full-time view because we were having a bit of a debate because Cam was of the mindset of they shouldn't have given up, but they basically just sort of went, we're nowhere near good enough, basically, and just tried to sort of and just put down tools. But you watched that game yesterday, and like you said, you just saw the difference in just quality and class, and be like, they couldn't lay a glove on them because they weren't good enough. I don't even know if really tactics came into it that much, to be honest, Flex. Second half, you can talk about all these little tweaks that Guardiola made won the game. Okay, we played well for 20 minutes in the first half, but ultimately that game was won because they were way, way better than us. And not just on the day, just in general, they are better than us. A lot of their players are better than the players that we have. And during the same period of time, Manchester City and Man United have spent the same amount of money, but our recruitment is obviously objectively worse
because that's the thing
profile
about. So go on. That's the profile.
Yeah, the profile of player we're going for, and the quality of player we're going for, obviously just isn't good enough. And again, I put a tweet out before the show started that everyone in the club needs to have a look at themselves before pointing fingers at others, and that's what it feels like at the moment, isn't it? It's always someone else's fault, whether it's it's the manager's fault, or it's this formation's fault, or whether it's this player's fault, or whatever. Everyone, whether it's players, staff, people in the boardroom, the owners, heaven forbid, have to have a look at themselves and go, what haven't I done right in the last few years? Because it's been a cataclysmic era of failures, isn't it? It's everyone. It's recruitment because we spent the same amount of money, but on players that aren't good enough. It's the wage structure because the wage structure is so bloated. It's the players that come in and ultimately think, right, I'm at United, I've made it. When it's like, no, that's the stepping stone to continue to make yourself a legend or really enhance your career. It's all of that kind of stuff. And that's the frustrating thing as well, isn't it? The day after a game, it's like I said, it's always someone else's fault. Always someone else's fault, as opposed to looking internally, going, actually, what do I need to do better? What do I need to improve on? And that's the frustrating thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Lil Yo-Yo says, Flex, do you want Rashbeck to be real? i.e. if he goes to Arsenal. I think we got to watch this unfold. It's very Marcus Rashford like to come out with something.
I wouldn't be surprised if he said something. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a tweet or something to say, seen a lot about my future. I love this club. I myself am the first to admit my form's been terrible, but I will fight for the shirt or just something, some form of PR thing, because that's Rashi is synonymous for that. And I don't know, man. I just feel after such a bad result, we can talk about individuals, but collectively, you look at what's Harry Maguire, way off it, not good enough. You look at the fullbacks, like we always say, not good enough. Midfield, Fred and McTominay as a pairing together like that, not good enough. McTominay spoke well at the end of the game. I give him that. His interview.
And that's the thing with them too. You can't fault their effort. It's not as if they don't try. They're just not obviously not. They're just not at the level.
Exactly. You can talk well, but if you're not up to it, you're just not up to it, and that's the problem at the club. If you then keep rewarding that with new contracts and stuff like that, and you would just end up in the same revolving pattern. And McTominay did speak well, but he did show, Jeffrey says there, McTominay's interview clearly indicated major issues in the back. And I thought he dealt with it really well, considering. Do you know what I mean? It was a tough questions being asked, and he he dealt with them well without shirking any responsibility. But I don't know. I just feel like it's worse. Fat4 says only 84 likes and 681 viewers. Come on, guys. Come on. Can we get the likes up, please? Where are we at? Let's smash a like on the video if you haven't done it. And we're nearly at 98k on the dot. That 100k is around the corner, bro. That
white whale's coming. It's coming.
It is on its way. It is on its way. What do you make about moving on to the next set of stuff that was kind of said by Samuel Luckhurst? Because, like you said, it's just been going off today. It's one of them.
Yeah. Avalanche.
But Luckhurst has been saying. I
mean, which one do you want to go with?
The teacher's pet one. There you go. One of Man United's players has described a teammate as a teacher's pet due to their regular appearances, and another player who has struggled for a regular run of games is jealous of the attention his competitors receive.
I mean, you see that and you just sort of go, first of all, again, it's just like one of those ones which you go, okay. Two, like, it just is, it's schoolyard stuff, isn't it? And not just because of the teacher pet thing, but it's schoolyard stuff of like, when you play Sunday League and someone's dad's the manager and he plays a lot and you go, he's only playing because his dad's manager. I'm way better than him, all that kind of stuff. But then you laugh and you go, wait a minute, this is Premier League stuff. This is elite level. This is Manchester United. Like, that's a crazy story. Yeah. And again, it's, as I mentioned before, whether it's true or not, you can make up that for yourself. But it's always looking at someone else. Why am I not playing? Heaven forbid I'm not playing because I'm not playing well. Or heaven forbid I'm not playing because I haven't been good enough. Or that person just might be better than me. And I tell you what, I've got to get to their level. I've got to show the manager, whoever it may be, something that I deserve to be playing instead of them. No, he's teacher's pet.
Yeah,
he's teacher's pet. It's teacher's pet and all this kind of stuff. And Scott McTominay, like you said, spoke really well yesterday, but it was quite telling. When he's asked, was there issues? Do they run deep in the dressing room? He went, I'm not going to talk about that kind of situation. And he could argue that he brushed it off because it's ludicrous. Why would I talk about stuff that isn't true? Or you could argue that he didn't talk about it because that's a can of worms that shouldn't be opened up on national television.
Yeah, I think the latter. I think, his reaction, him saying, listen, I'm not here to comment on what's going on in the back. And when they said as well that, it's been accused or been put to the players that, a lot of them gave up. How did you see it? For when he says, look, I'll have to watch it back. Obviously I'm in the game. It's difficult. But then he said, people trying flicks. So you have to go through really, innit? It is.
Yeah.
It is,
And they did give up. I mean, that's not even, you can't even argue that. There isn't a point of, we never give up. No, you did. You literally, the stats, not even with the eye test, the stats back that up. They gave up. After they went 3-1 down, City had like 92% possession. City are great at keeping the ball, but no team has 92% possession if the other team just stops.
100%.
Just stops.
And one
thing I would in that second half of zero.
That means 100.
That means you created nothing. There was no threat on goal. There was no probability. To have no probability to score a goal, you have to do nothing. And that's what they did second half. They did literally nothing. And again, that's not because we parked the bus or we parked the bus to get that 4-1 result. Of course they didn't. They just stopped. They just stopped walking around, and that is criminal. And Roy Keane was, and people were mocking Roy Keane. I saw Micah Richards laughing, like, and it was funny. Obviously, it's funny, but it's passion that is not there at the moment because it's criminal to do that in any game, right? Any game of football, whether it's a Premier League game or a Sunday League game, to give up and just walk around and do nothing. If I was in a Sunday League team, I'd be furious, let alone in a Manchester derby, in a Premier League match, when the opposition, they're obviously way better than us. But at the very least, if you can go, at least they tried. And that's what's crazy is, remember that Ralph Rangnick press conference, right? Well, I think they're trying. Looks like they're not even doing that now.
Yeah, and he defended that again. One thing I would have loved to have, in dressing rooms and stuff, I can imagine. Look, I've never played the game at the highest level, but I know people who have, and I've had good conversations with people who have. And it's like, if McTominay goes into that dressing room afterwards, I would want there to be hostility. I would want there to be players going
100%.
at it. But what I could imagine is that you could hear a pin drop in there. For some reason, I just feel like, because really with McTominay kind of saying that, really, you should go back in there. And one of the other senior players says, "Oh, okay, Scott. So what? People doing flicks and that? Who's that then? If you think of a dressing room environment, who's that then?" And Scott goes, "Yeah, you mate. You've been giving it away half the time." And then back to him goes, "Yeah, well, look at you though, Scott. You ain't been doing nothing." And then Scott gives it the whole. I'm just painting a picture here. Well, at least I'm running around, giving it my all, and that people get close, gets broken up within 10 seconds. But there's something there. We've just lost the derby at the Etihad. Were players going at it at the end of that game? But what about you? You're fucking doing this. What about that? Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. And people can say, "Oh, that shows that it's not good team spirit." So I get that. It shows that it's broken. But actually, it also shows that there's something in there and people want it. But I bet you walk back into that change room at that point, and this isn't a media leak or anything. This is just my opinion of what I imagine it to have been like. I bet Scott left that interview with Jeff Shreves, walked straight back in, and people were just getting in the shower, just, putting in their cream afterwards, putting their clothes back on, and then...
And what do we get today? We get everything through social media or articles or that kind of stuff instead.
Like what Ed T said, everyone probably was just sitting there, heads down. I can imagine that. And that's like what Lux Hill says there. Not one person will take accountability for that. Did Maguire, even though he was horrendous as well, because they were all horrendous, did Maguire as the captain go in there and go absolutely ballistic? I just don't think he did. If something surfaces after that and, I don't know, the players are watching this and saying, "Look at this, we didn't know we went at it," then I stand corrected. But my opinion, I don't think there was, boots flying around that change room saying that was fucking disgusting. What was that? What have we just done?
And the problem is, if he did, which he should as a captain, anyone can turn around and go to him and go, "What about you? Where are you leading by example?" And again, that's the problem, is you can see it. You can see the culture of, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. Your fault.
100%. Big up to Sam for the contribution as always, bro. Good to see you coming through. Really, really appreciate that. Thanks for supporting the channel as always. Falling out of love with football, Sam says. I might be the only fan looking forward to international football nowadays. Listen, we always say we don't want an international break, but Sam, I think maybe a lot of people could be with you there, because it is bad right now. And I think Fat Four says it there. Flex, if Maguire went crazy, then the team would have kicked his ass. He's one of the biggest culprits out there. I get it, 100%. I'm not saying like, he needs to get them in check. We know him as a captain. I'm just using that as an example of, Pogba wouldn't have done it too. You just
want to see someone care.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I just don't think that would have happened. Exactly.
No, exactly. And instead of seeing people like care, you hear these stories that come out, and whether or not they're true, whether or not part of it's true, or whether or not, there's elements of it. And in fairness, you do have to say from the journalist perspective of, there's a lot for everything to be made up. Like, there's a lot for everything just to be completely fabricated, Yeah. And again, that's the concern. That's absolutely the concern. I mean, the stuff that they've been saying reportedly about Rangnick, I'm sure we'll get to, but even that, I'm like,
yeah. Well, open that
Rolling
up,
Stones concert. Play the hits. Well, Samuel Luckhurst said, a Manchester United dressing room source said the players find it bizarre how United's season have unraveled, and some acknowledge the blame cannot be pinned on Rangnick. However, let me find the next bit when it comes to the the expert was saying that basically they don't really know why he was why we got him in the first place.
Yeah,
saying that his background in in Germany they're dissatisfied with, or they don't
why do we have a
believe.
manager from the Russian league who's working as a sporting director? You know,
it's just all of that kind of stuff is nonsense. There we go. Some Man United players have ridiculed Rangnick's CV and are dissatisfied with his methods. Players have questioned why the club hired a coach who was working as a sporting director in the Russian league and are unimpressed with his background in Germany. Now, when I saw that one, I went, if that is true, you talk about players throwing the manager under the bus. How many times are they going to do it?
Yeah.
Right? How many times are they going to do it? And yeah, Ralph Rangnick's CV isn't littered with trophies, but we've had people that were littered with trophies and they didn't like them either. So what do you want? So what do you want? And
then we had the nice guy in Ollie who's been here, he's done it, put an arm around everyone, happy, smiles.
So I was dissatisfied. Oh, why did we get him? He was the sporting director in Russia. Why did we get him? I don't know anyone. And again, like the stat, this is what's crazy is before the game, the stats are there going to tell you what we've improved, making more chances, conceding less goals. We've lost one game since he come in or anything like that. One game lost and going, this manager's coaching, he's terrible, he's rubbish, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, again, have a look at yourself. Have a look at yourself. God, he's outdated, he's antiquated. And also as well, he's not going anywhere. Whether or not he's going to be the manager next season, he's probably not. But we know he's going to be a consultant. I would be very, very hesitant to throw a guy under the bus that could potentially have some kind of say on my future next season. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot, right? I saw that one and I'm like, who are they to say? If that is true, who are they to say, oh, I've ridiculed his CV? That's a pretty strong word.
It is. If that's true, and that's what you say, you got to put if at the beginning of all of this because
you do. You have
somewhere in the middle because Man United is not a happy place. So when there are negative headlines coming out about the club, there's some truth somewhere. There's some truth somewhere in terms of the direct quotes of this player who they won't name said, this guy's like Ted Lasso, or this player said he's got favorites and he's got teacher's pet, whatever that is. I think those bits are objective, but the bits that are to be factual is that it's a negative vibe at the club because
and there have been people in the media that have questioned Rangnick, you know, oh, he's been a sporting director 8 of the last 10 years. And I'm sure probably some of the players are thinking that as well, going, you know, what's going on there? But on the flip side, you would also say, but he's an interim coach and his long-term job was going to be as a consultant sporting director at the club. And the reason that a new manager had to come in again is because performances weren't good enough. You know, and again, you have to look internally to all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you do. Shavish says, world-class players, world-class manager. So what is actually the issue here? The owners are spending mad money on players as well. And Sho Rahman says, the board have created this culture where players can leak things every week. It's disgusting and I'm sick of it. Get these players out. And I think we're up to date with the super chat. So take some of the comments here from people in the comments as well. Oh, no, a super chat just came through. Drew says they have a sporting director from the Russian league because they gave up on Ollie. These absolute muppets. I've had it with these players. Dexter says, do they all expect they are at a level where Klopp or Pep would coach them? And we are crap on the pitch. Rangnick lost twice so far. These losers have been losing long before Ralph, says Pat. Let me scroll up, take some more comments as well. Tad says they didn't say it about Ollie because Ollie was their best friend, you know.
But they did. But you know, this again, it's a Rolling Stones concert. Play the hits because it always comes out. Whether it's Mourinho, whether it's Van Gaal, whether it's Ollie, the same story always comes out of they're not sure about training methods. They weren't sure about Michael Carrick or Kieran McKenna, and the same thing now comes out about Rangnick. And again, whether or not you believe it or whether or not it's an easy story to say or parts of it are true. Like the comment said there before, you do get to the point where you think about if it was Pep or Klopp, they might even say the same thing about them. You know what I mean? What have they done? What are they doing? They're not
exactly, because it's just that generic mentality of just a negative way of looking at it and not accepting accountability. Basically, big up James in the comments as always. Says Manchester United, I like the guy that spoils his missus on Valentine's Day and puts it all over social media and treats her like shit for the rest of the year. Show you care all of the time, not just one game. And Kevin says, let Rashford go play terrible. That's why you aren't playing, son. And yeah, I think we're done on that. Oh, there you go. VK says, except we punching above our weight for a mid-table side. Things can change quickly in football, Owen.
Yeah.
They can change quickly in football. Wins against, if we get back-to-back wins in the next 2 games, I'm not going to say that means everything's amazing. Of course it doesn't, but it can change the mood. But it feels so flat right now. You know, even when we have been winning that, even if we did win by the skin of our teeth and ground it out, it wouldn't fill us with loads and loads of confidence. But one thing I did want to touch on is that actually, as soon as when Ralph came in, he had those, you know, those famous, was it 10 or so games that was like, what a perfect time for an interim manager to come in. You know, you got the likes of Burnley, you got Palace first game, you got to play Wolves, you got to play Brighton, you got to play Newcastle, Norwich, and all these types of teams in the bottom half of the table. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to play any of the big guns, you know. We have to play Watford. It was a perfect time to come in. And then as soon as we've played anybody, and Gary Neville alluded to it as well, and he's spot on. As soon as we've then played a top team, look, no difference. No difference to earlier. In fact, it was probably worse than the 2-0 at home to City early on in the season. And he said something, Gary Neville said, when you play against, you know, some of the mid-table teams and teams at the bottom of the table, you don't have to be at your best to beat them. You can nick it by a bit of brilliance, you know, individual FC. But to beat the better teams, i.e. Atletico and yesterday against City, that shows you exactly where we're at. You know what I mean?
It does. It does. I mean, it said that the opening to the game yesterday as well was almost exactly the same as Atletico. Any form of game plan we had, 5 minutes, boom, gone.
Yeah.
You know, 1-0 down, easy. Don't manage the atmosphere. Don't manage the pressure. And maybe that's the thing too, is Manchester United, the amount of pressure that's on you as a player. And we look at some of these players in a pressure environment, it's just completely, we just crumble. Let's face it, we're not going to get top 4 now. But even if we did, we don't deserve it. Oh, my God, we do not deserve it. And again, that's why it's deflating too, because yeah, we're still in the Champions League, but realistically, everyone knows where that's going to go. Anything, you know, anything could happen, but we know really realistically where that's going to go. And it's deflating because it's March and our season's done, really. And that's why it's deflating. And, you know, you can look forward to the summer and go, I tell you what, I can't wait till it gets to the summer. But there's almost, I don't know about you, Flex, there's almost like an element of dread going into the summer, isn't there? Because the job is that big and the trust isn't there. And we've seen how bad it is right now. And the mindset and the hope would be, oh, at least it's going to get better because we'll have a summer. But there's almost this sort of thing at the back of your head that sort of goes, it might get worse. Like it might get a lot worse in the summer, because if we don't have a good summer, it's just, it's quite terrifying to think about, isn't it? And that's why it feels so flat. And that kind of negativity breeds from that too. And I do think it's a cultural issue as well. If you have mediocrity, say, in the boardroom and all that kind of stuff, or if you accept mediocrity for a decade, you tend to get mediocrity on the pitch. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a side that, I mean, you see it not even in when we play like stronger sides like Liverpool and City. It's way more obvious then, and it's embarrassing. But sometimes, especially as a United fan, you watch United every single week. And then when you happen to tune into, like we were saying a couple of weeks ago, tune into the Carabao Cup final, and you see that kind of football being played and that kind of quality, and you're like, I have not seen this every single week. I am not seeing this. Yeah. And then then again, you realize, you go, like you said, we are so far off it. And I look at the summer ahead and I go, you know, whoever that manager is or coach that comes in, I mean, to say what a job is an understatement. And even that hinges on recruitment, that how involved is he going to be in that? And just, it is chaos, absolute chaos.
Arto says it's going to be hard to have a good summer. How are you going to get rid of 10 to 11 players and bring in 10? Not going to happen. Exactly, 100% not going to be able to do that. You know, Rashford's complaint about lack of game time is a joke. He does not deserve to play. It's Premier League. Easy money. Job is easy money. Job is, man, you reserve a bench players and bench. You reserves and bench players. Okay, never get used. Getting paid so much money to sit down. Sign me up. I just think it is going to get worse before we see anything different. I do believe that. I feel like there's so much to change at the club. I mean, they asked Roy Keane before the game, how long does he think if for Man United to return back to something, that resembles us? And he said if they get the right man in now and get the right recruitment, he said about 2 to 3 years. If they get the right guy in, and
giant ifs, though, isn't it? I mean,
oh,
these are giant ifs that we have yet to see
100%.
happen. I almost look at Arsenal, in fairness to them, and they get bantered a lot, and rightfully so. But like, you look at them and look how painful it's been for them the last few years. But what did it take eventually? Whether or not they actually meant to do it or not is another thing. But they had a team of players that were on bigger wages, experienced players that really had, no business being there, and they weren't good enough. And every time they were out injured and younger players came in, they played better. And systemically, over the course of a couple of years, whether it's Luiz, Socrates, Kolasinac, Aubameyang, all of them, they just go. And people mocked them and said, look how much they spent on them, and they all left for frees. But look where they are on the table right now. And that's the first time they've been there in a long time. And their squad's one of the youngest in the Premier League. Yeah. Because they went, you know what, actually, you can have wages and you can have experience and you can have things you've done in your career, but you need to want to be doing things for the future. And some players just didn't want to be doing things for the future. And maybe that's what United need at this point. We need to go through, whether it is a couple more years of suffering and pain, and go, you know what, some of these experienced players that shouldn't be there, they just go. We'll go. Yeah. And maybe we're just going to be miles off it for a while, but eventually we might get to a point where there's some hunger in the players that want to be there and want to achieve things and actually have some care and some passion for the shirt. And maybe that's what it's going to take.
Yeah. And Roy Keane was saying that it's different at Man United, though. The expectancy level is different. The amount of resources available to you is different. Yeah. So for Man United to go that route and say, we're just going to pick up sort of 15 million pound players, 20 million pound players who aren't really known, but they're young and hungry.
Yeah, or academy players, we'll flood them in.
Exactly. That's a big way to go. Whereas you've got a wealth of resources, you're supposed to be the biggest football club in the world. Really, the best thing we can do is get the structure right. I don't think it matters who we buy. You look at the role now of then Richard Arnold, who's basically Ed Woodward's friend from before, just been given the role. It seems it's going to be the same regime. Like, he's worked under Ed Woodward for so long. How is that good? Are you just going to have a different ideology to the guy you've worked under for bloody donkey's years? I can't. Now you're in the hot seat. I can't see a drastic change. I can't, with the same owners and the same people there, just moving up the chain, basically just getting promotions.
And also these titles. Like football, and the club should have football directors and technical directors, but you do get the impression at United it's that in name only, and it's that they're like, United went, okay, most clubs have technical directors nowadays, so we should get one. And then it's like, but what does the actual Manchester United technical director do? Rangnick said he didn't know, and that got to a point where Fletcher had to come out and says what he does. And then if anything, you felt bad for Fletcher because he's like, I'm actually doing way too much. I'm doing way more than I should be doing. I'm on the pitch, I'm working with academies, I'm doing all this other stuff. And it's like even United don't know how the technical director works. You've got, John Murtough going, we're in this, we've got a short list and we're going to be in discussions with all these managers, all this kind of stuff. Then Ralph gets asked in the press conference, there's a short list been drawn up. Have you been asked? Not yet. And it's like, like you said, that structure is so off. And it's always the hope that kills you. But do we see that structure getting fixed anytime soon? And also, as well, no disrespect to John Murtough and Darren Fletcher and all that kind of stuff, but you're talking about at these other clubs. City is a great example of having the best in class at that role. Their director of football, I forget his name, but he was the footballing director at Barcelona, worked with Pep. So they have a relationship from the past. He recruited Pep to City. They know each other. They know what their philosophy and ideology is. Boom, done. And like Ralph Rangnick said in his press conference, this is what's mental as well. Rangnick said in his press conference exactly how it should work. He said, you've got your manager, you've got continuity, and your manager's corporate identity, if you will, flows through the club, i.e. your manager plays football a certain style, so everything is dictated around the club, around him, in the sense of he plays this style, this is the kind of players we recruit. This is how we train. This is how we operate, all that kind of stuff. But it's such a Frankenstein club at this point that you've got people in the recruitment department from Louis van Gaal era. You've got people in the medical side from Jose Mourinho era. And I'm not advocating for everyone to lose their job as soon as a manager comes in, they change hands. But that is years and years and years of, stop, start to unpick. And like you said, even when it comes to the structural side of things, I look at that and go, again, where would you start? Where would you start with that?
Where do you start to unpick it? Because that's what I mean. It's very difficult to say, well, okay, this player is not good enough, that player is not good enough, this player. But actually, the recurring theme of who buys these players and how we buy these players and when we buy these players and for how much for, that's still the same. Jacob says nothing will change having Maguire as captain. And Patrick says it can be done. The Arsenal are doing it under Kroenke. And, look at the... That's a weird one. Arsenal fans have gone in on the Cronkies for absolutely ages, to the point where they don't care about the football club and this, that, and the other. A lot of similarities with the Glazers. But the model that they ended up choosing and how they handed over the power of the football club or the day-to-day running of the football club to, I think, Edu and some others. I don't know exactly how it works at Arsenal, but I know Edu's involved with their transfers and stuff like that. And the way they go about things, clearly... And there's still time for it to go wrong. I get that. Arsenal still may not get top four. We don't know.
And also as well, I vividly recall them asking for Arteta to be sacked this season on a couple of occasions.
They've still done that, But I think it's safe as an outside looking in, even if they didn't make the top four, I'm looking at it though, and I'm like, I can see something. Yeah,
I mean, you look at certainly, I think their thing that they would be the most optimistic about, forget their structure and all that kind of stuff. They would be seeing stuff on the pitch and they would say, look, we've got some really young players that are good. We've got, Saka, we've got Smith Rowe, we've got, Martinelli, we've got players there that are not even anywhere near their peak at the moment. And they're playing well and they're playing good stuff. I messaged you during the Watford game yesterday. I went, it's quite discouraging because they're actually playing good football.
That's what I'm saying. They're playing good football.
And even Watford scored. Watford scored against them, and it was a great goal. And then you went, but the Arsenal still got to win that game. Yeah. If Watford scored against Man United and they got to 1-1, you'd be like, I don't know where this is going.
Well, you saw what Watford did to us, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Arsenal were clinical in their finishing, but then still, look, Watford kept going, got another goal, and that's where Arsenal might still, they do concede goals. They're winning by 1 goal each time, which that's all that needs to be done at this time. But
we are talking about, like, if Arsenal bottled this, it'd be right up there with some of the biggest bottle jobs in Premier League history. I mean, like, they're a point ahead of us with 3 games in hand.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about a monumental swing.
But them 3 games in hand are very tough, though. They are, Chelsea, they are Liverpool, and they are...
But this is what's crazy, Flex. It's even if they lose all of those games, I don't trust United to win.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter, They might lose their games.
We've got Chelsea. We've got Spurs.
We're still there, and they're still a point ahead. So we still got to win games. And looking at yesterday, if we do go 1-0 down against Liverpool at Anfield or 2-0 down, who's to say that they go, right, done, give up?
Well, track record says that's what happened. I don't think anyone could be confident going to Liverpool away considering what we've just seen. Not a chance. Yeah. Absolutely. Our asses get handed to us there. Probably worse than at City. So Santiago says, good morning, gentlemen. Just tuned in and saw the news. What a reflection of the lack of accountability and winners mentality at this club. 100% spot on there. Thank you, Santiago, for coming in. If you haven't done already, guys, smash a like on the video. Got over 1,000 people watching as we wrap up, which is dope. That is really good to see. Make sure you guys subscribe. Hopefully we can get to 98k by the end of today. That'll be good. We're a few off it, less than 100 off it. So if you haven't subscribed, please make sure you guys hit that button. Thanks for watching this afternoon. Again, do we want to be on here talking about negative stuff? Do we want to be on here talking about propaganda and talking about media leaks and dressing room unrest and stuff? No, we don't. But that's what the topic of debate was today, because of what's going on. And when you look at it, it was always kind of going to happen after a shocking result and performance yesterday. Can they dust themselves down? We'll have the build up to the Spurs game coming up throughout the week as we lead up to that.
A bit ahead, Flex, but how are you feeling going into that one? Have you even thought about it at this point?
I haven't even thought about it.
I don't even want to process it.
I'm so pissed off about yesterday, but as you asked me on the spot, 50-50, mate. we can all laugh at Spurs like we have done all season, saying how crap they are, Conte's going to walk and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, what we do know from Spurs, they showed it against Manchester City only a game ago, the game before ago. I know they've lost a couple since then. Well, went out of the cup against Middlesbrough, and then they beat Leeds. But then they lost against Burnley after they beat City. So I get that. But on their day, Son and Kane are capable of coming to Old Trafford and causing us massive problems.
Yeah.
They are. Spurs ain't good. They are shit as well. But so are we right now. So it's the battle of the shits. The shit teams.
You've hyped it up massively.
But yeah, do you know what I mean? It's the battle of the teams the two teams who just ain't very good and anything can happen. Might nick it. Atletico might nick it. But I'm not filled with confidence. Like you said, it's about going on a run now. It's about going on a run and hope Arsenal lose their games. And the first part of that, which is us going on a run, can't see it. So there you go. Anyway, my door's just gone. So that is my cue. Someone's at the door. I'm out of it, guys. We are out of it. And we will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.